All right, since we have Van on the pod, we got to rip through a couple topics. Deion, Colorado, go.
Uh, Getting as bad as it could possibly get right now.
You predicted this summer.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like a lot of the issues that were present on the team from last year had actually been fixed. And you're looking at the same stuff. You're looking at offensive line problems. You're looking at defensive line problems. You're looking at the inability to cover. The team is, of course, very top heavy. I'm not saying anything that anybody hasn't said. And even some of the guys that broke out in the first game of the season, like Jimmy Horn did not do really that much against Nebraska. It seems like in a situation with him, he really shows out against lesser competition, against competition where guys can cover and maybe the scheme is better. He has some problems. But more so to the point now when you look at Colorado, I'm starting to see stuff that maybe I didn't see as much last season, like on the field. Like Travis Hunter in that game against Nebraska where they were thoroughly dominated seemed like he was fed up. Like he wasn't actually believing. Because one thing I will say is for all the struggles that they had last year, you saw some cracks and stuff like that in terms of the coaching staff and stuff, but the team seemed like they had a great bond between them. It seemed like they were okay with one another. There was always some different dust-ups and you heard stuff coming up, but it wasn't until the summer that you got all this information about just how fractured the locker room could be or might be.
Yeah.
And so now you have to wonder what's going to happen with the Colorado experiment. And you have to wonder like where it's going.
Why do people care so much?
Because it's interesting.
If you had to condense it down in one sentence, why do people care about this team that's basically a below 500 college football team?
Because we love Deion Sanders. There are a couple of people in every sporting generation that rise to the level of mythic figure. And Deion Sanders is one of those people. Deion Sanders is a guy that locked down one half of the whole field, becomes a huge pop culture star. Prime time. He's great at baseball. He's great at football. He's a generational athlete, but he's not just a generational athlete. He's a generational talker. He's a generational cultural figure. He's a generational style figure. He just means something to someone. And then to see Deion Sanders' maturation when he's finished with his playing career and he becomes a leader and a man of God and a family man and a father, you just believe that Deion will win at whatever Deion decides to do. And he will win. Deion Sanders will win. What will happen is this. Travis Hunter will get drafted high. Shedeur will get drafted high. Deion Sanders will walk away from Colorado, tens of millions of dollars richer than what he was when he got there. And his son will go to the NFL, and his adoptive son will go to the NFL. Deion Sanders will win. The question is whether or not Colorado will win. Whether or not they will be markedly better off after Deion Sanders leaves, besides the financial, I'm talking about on the football field, and I don't think that they will be.
I liked it last year. We talked about it a year ago because I just hate the college sports infrastructure. I was so excited somebody was coming in and was just like, fuck this, and just blowing it up and zagging in the hardest possible way. And I was like, I hope this works. And now a year later, it feels like we're headed toward what you just laid out. He's going to get a couple kids drafted. He's going to leave. I don't know what's next for him. Like what's next for him?
I mean, it depends. If he wanted to continue to be a college coach, remember he had great success at Jackson State for what they were doing at Jackson State, right? He won the SWAC twice. So it's not like he hasn't ever been successful as a college coach. If he wants to continue to be a college coach, and broken record, everybody is saying this, it would take the demonstration of building a program that maintains a competitive and structural consistency that people can believe in. Deion Sanders and Matt Rule came in at the same time. He beat Matt Rule last year. He beat Matt Rule last year because Matt Rule is the coach of Nebraska. He beat Matt Rule last year because Nebraska turned the ball over a lot. Yeah. But also, there was a little fool's gold in there.
Yeah.
Right? But now when you look at the team, one team was essentially 28 points better. The game was 28-10, but it wasn't that close. One team was way better in the trenches at doing the little things, made less mistakes, the entire nine. So it seems that one way is winning over the other way. So Deion Sanders would have to prove that he could really do this at this level. And he just hasn't proven that yet. He's proven that he can be noticed, that he can be disruptive, that he can garner headlines, that he can win in spots or have success in spots, but he has yet to prove that he can win consistently at that level. And it's just a fact.
Yeah, you're basically running your own little mini corporation.
Yeah, I mean,
a little harder than
the reality
where
is,
he was at the first job.
There are all kinds of guys, right? Like, for example, Marcus Freeman right now at Notre Dame. Great young coach. Notre Dame ends up losing a weird game every single year that they shouldn't lose. They just lost to Northern Illinois. They lose to Marshall. They lose to a 3-9 Stanford team. And you wonder, what is it about this guy's process? Brian Kelly at my school, at LSU, my beloved LSU Tigers. We come out stagnant and flat at the beginning of the season every single year.
Yeah.
We lose big games when the lights are on us. And you wonder, not that Brian Kelly can't be a successful coach. He's one of the most successful coaches of his generation. But what is it about these guys' process and preparation to where they lose in situations like this, or they can't get over the hump in situations like this? And Deion Sanders doesn't have nearly the accolades or the winning percentage of those other two guys. But if we're asking those questions about those guys, we're certainly going to ask those questions about him.
Well, a year ago, you came on and we were talking about if this Colorado thing keeps going the way it's going, what's next for Deion? What would be I think you did a top 5 programs you'd want him to take over. Now it feels like the ceiling of that is lowered, right?
You'd have to be moronical.
Yeah.
You'd have to be a moron to it. What it looked like at the time was this. What it looked like at the time was that Deion Sanders had the ability to catch lightning in a bottle and make everybody want to come to where he was and participate in this, right? And that he was going to attract the best athletes. He had Travis Hunter, right?
Yeah.
He was able to get Travis Hunter to not go to Florida State,
right,
and come to Jackson State, right? So you felt like his ability to do that was going to turn a situation to where he didn't have as many resources as some of these other programs and make Colorado automatically competitive, which it looked like, right? TCU, Nebraska, it looked like he could do more with less. Now, it's starting to look like that he can do less with more because the school has been financially successful, right? They're getting all eyes on them every single time. The lights are on Colorado. The attention is there, but the team can't function. So it doesn't look like resources are an indicator of how good of a coach or how good of a job he's going to do. So if he ended up at Florida State, or if he ended up, at a Notre Dame or any of the places where these coaches are quote unquote on the hot seat, which I don't think Norvell or Freeman is actually on the hot seat. But if he ended up at any of those places, it doesn't look like he has the institutional consistency to run them well. I'm not saying that that's true. It's year 2 for Deion. But I'm saying the team, it's not just that the team is losing. It's how they lose. They lose at the fundamentals of football. They lose at the things you have to do right. Yeah. So it's really right now, outside of an opening game loss, the loss that they had to Nebraska, I mean, Bill, that's as bad as it can go. And for all of the people out there that, because there's a part of this, you shouldn't say this because there's a cultural loyalty to Deion. I love Deion. I love what he's been able to do. Love him as all of that. But like, if you're looking at the results on the field, he hasn't proven that he's a great coach at this level. It's just a fact.
And it might be a level below. We'll see.